Okay, we will go ahead and get started. Can everyone hear me? I'm sure you can. I don't need a microphone, right? Shake your head. Okay. My name is Terri Thompson. I live in Paris, Kentucky. Drove over this morning to work with you all for the next few minutes on business etiquette, whatever that means. I travel all over the country working with mostly college and university students such as yourself. My territory is pretty much New York City and East Coast to Little Rock, Arkansas, and everything in between. So I do a lot of work with college and university students. It's my first time at the University of Charleston. So let me just start by saying thank you for showing up. I know you have other choices, you have other things to do with your lives, whether you're getting credit or not. Good for you for showing up, so thanks for coming. All of my programs, no matter if I'm working with you on a program like today or if we're sitting down over a business meal and learning how to negotiate through that, all of my programs are very informal. No question is off limits. It's not a dumb question. Somebody else in the audience wants to know it as well, so ask it as we go along. That makes for an easier program for you all to sit through for 50 minutes, and you'll get more out of it. So feel free to ask your questions. If there's something we don't touch on in the next few minutes and you've always wondered, how do I do this, what do I do, etc., please ask that as well. I did go to certification school. I am certified in etiquette training as far as business and social. So what I'm going to present to you today is, in fact, the way the business world works. It's different than how we act at home. It's different than when we go out with family and friends. It's a little more rigid in the business world, and I want you to recognize the differences, and then what you do with them is up to you and how you proceed. All of my skills that I'm going to work with you today are relevant as you head out into your careers. Some of you are freshmen. How many are freshmen in here? Sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Okay, good. So we have a mix of all students, relevant for all of you. The closer you get to internships, job interviews, the more relevant maybe it becomes, but does not mean, freshmen, that you can't start absorbing this and your go forward from there. The way we're going to do this afternoon, I'm going to pass out what I call a quiz. It's not a quiz, it just keeps us on track to do a lot of topics in a short amount of time. So we will use this kind of as a guide to go through and cover several subjects. You know what, I'm just going to give you a bunch and just kind of snake them around, and that way we'll get this done faster. Start sending some of them around here and then finish up there, and then I'll just pick up the extras. If you have a pen, you're welcome to mark this as we go. Extras. Thank you. Extras in the back, or there it is. Okay, well. Got enough? Oh, we didn't have enough. Okay. Just thinking there'll be extras. Hi there. Welcome. There you go. Perfect. Any extras over there? All right. Everybody have one? No extras floating around. Here we go. On which shoulder is the name tag worn? How many think it's right? How many think it's left? How many have no idea? Okay, fair enough. It's always the right shoulder. Now, why is that? Exactly. When I walk up, your name? Jerlisa. Cool name. I'm drawn to her right shoulder where I'm going to read her name. Let me say this, though. If you go to work for a company once you're out of the University of Charleston and the boss of your company says, I don't care what Terri Thompson says, we wear them on the left, guess what? Wear it on the left because they sign your paycheck. All of these things that I'm telling you are just the normal, everyday rules and regs of business etiquette. However, if you get out into your internships, your careers, your whatever, and you do it a little differently in your company, it's not the end of the world. This is not brain surgery. So it is normally on the right shoulder. About 4 inches down and readable. If you have it tucked under your lapel that nobody can read it, doesn't do any good. Sometimes you have those horrible things you wear around your neck at conventions and all that type of thing. that'll be your only option, and you'll be wearing those. It's very common in even college situations. You have those around the neck thing. So if you have a sticker peel-off option, it's on the right shoulder. Okay? Any comments or questions on that? Pretty straightforward on that one. If someone forgets to introduce you, what should you do? Move on with the conversation. There'll be a chance to do so later. Tell your friend or partner they forgot. Please do so now. C, say, hi, I'm Terry. It's nice to meet you. D, say nothing and walk away. How many think it's A? Okay, a couple of you. How many think B? C? D? Okay, it is C. Self-introduce. We get in little networking circles, we get in little cliques, we get in, and you guys will be faced with this. I do a whole program on networking 101 and how to walk into a room and start a conversation with a stranger. It's our second most socially feared thing in America. We don't want to network, and yet it's vital to your career path. So get comfortable, practice, go to more networking events than you want to, and when you do, you break into those conversations, and if someone doesn't introduce you, self-introduce yourself. Have a couple of quick things to say about yourself, and then move on with the conversation. That's a difficult thing to do. How many, if I were to ask you in this room, would say, I absolutely love to go to networking events? One odd person up here with me. Okay, yeah, I know, right? We're weird. I also like to public speak. That's the first social fear, is public speaking. So it's not something we're normally comfortable with. It is something like job interviewing that gets easier with practice. So go to those events that you can. Practice. You have nothing to lose. Make yourself comfortable with networking events. Okay, when introducing yourself, you should have a quick elevator speech prepared and use it after saying. First of all, what's an elevator speech? Does anybody know? Ever heard that term? Yes, in the back.
It's like if you come in as someone high up in the company, kind of introduce yourself, tell them what you're about.
You're on the right path. You're on the right path. The reason it's called an elevator speech is it's small, it's quick. From the time the elevator goes from the first floor to the second floor, you've told me something about yourself that's relevant that I might need to follow up with you all. So that's why it's called an elevator speech, and he's absolutely right. Tell me something about yourself, not that, oh, I'm getting ready to go to Suntan City this afternoon because I don't like the snow and I think I need some warm rays. No, nobody cares about that. Tell me what your degree is. Tell me why I'd be interested in you for my company. Something relevant. So that's your elevator speech. Hi, I'm Terri Thompson. I have a company called Terri Thompson Presents. I work with college and university students all over the country helping them succeed. That would be my elevator speech, hoping that you'd say, wow, what do you speak on, or whatever. So have something relevant, that's your elevator speech, and that's true, you should. When introducing someone to a group, is it appropriate to say, hi everyone, this is Sandy Neal or Terri Thompson? Is that a proper introduction for a group? If I'm pulling Josh up here and he's going to speak to the group, would I be able to say, hi everyone, this is Josh Smith. He's going to speak to us today on how to make a beanbag chair. I can't think of anything. Is that a proper introduction? How many think yes it is? Okay, how many think no it's not? What's wrong with it for you no it's not, people? Anybody know? Go ahead. No background information? What were you going to say? Not in-depth enough? Okay. It's kind of a trick question. In a group introduction, the couple in the back that said yes it is okay are actually correct. The couple that said no it's not are actually correct. It depends on the situation. If Sandy Neal is going to then tell about herself and why she's here and how it's relevant to what she's doing, then it is enough. Hi, I'm Terri Thompson, blah, blah, blah. If it's a more formal situation, maybe a keynote address, whatever, then you're right, you need a little more information. So gauge that. If you're asked to introduce someone, and you will be in your careers, gauge that on what's the situation. Is it rather informal? We're all gathered here today. Terri can do her own self-introduction. Or is it a little more formal? I need to do some research, get an autobiography, whatever, a bio off her website. Okay. This will be our last introduction one. Is this a proper introduction? Your boss, Mr. Smith, enters a room where you're meeting with a client, Mr. Jones. You rise and say, Mr. Smith, I'd like you to meet Mr. Jones, my client from Google. Show of hands. How many think that is a proper introduction? 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. How many have gone to sleep on me? Okay. All right, so the rest of you think it's not a correct introduction, right? Okay, let's try that again. How many think that's a proper introduction? Raise your hand. How many think it's not a proper introduction? Okay, how many have no idea? Fair enough. Okay. And the rest, I know who didn't vote. All right, here's the deal. When you do an introduction, we mess up introductions because we're worried about what we're going to say or how it's going to go. Who do I do first? Who do I do second? What's the correct way to do that? If you can remember this, and I don't like to say it this way, but it'll help you remember this. Speak to the person that has the most seniority or is the most important. That's the part I don't like because we're all important. But if this will help you remember. If Barack Obama walks through that door right now, I'm going to speak to him first because he trumps everyone in this room. So I'm going to speak to President Obama. I'd like to introduce you to Jill Smith. So I've spoken to the most senior, the most important first, and that's how you can remember. So in the example, who's more important, the boss or the client? The client, because without the client we have no paycheck, we have no job. So you would speak to the client first. Are you ever going to use this in real life? You will. Yes, you will. So if you're sitting here thinking, I really don't care if it's Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones, you will need to know this. So speak to the client first in this regard because without them we don't have a job. Okay, so you would just flip that around and speak to Mr. whatever his name is, Jones first, and then your boss. Is it necessary to fill in the subject line of an email? Absolutely. Why? What happens if you don't? It does not get read. That's right. It falls to the bottom. People are busy. I'll get back to that later. And guess what? Later is never. So if you need to email in business, and this is not personal, that you all don't even email anymore. You text and IM and blah, 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 blah. But if you do an old-fashioned email, make sure you have a subject line and make sure it's relevant. Not hi, hello, what's up? No, it's why are you emailing me? Meeting 7 o'clock Thursday night. Perfect. Then I know what it's about, then I can get to it when I can get to it and go from there. What's the time frame on an email return email? Does anybody know? How soon should you return an email? Yes, in the back.
2 days.
I'm sorry?
2 days.
2 days? Anybody else? Yes.
Within the first 24 hours.
First 24 hours. I like your answer better. In reality, 2 days sometimes is true. You're traveling, you're not in the office, whatever, although we're all wired up all the time, all the way anyway. So 24 hours, absolutely, if you can. Okay? All right, when entering a cab with a client. Now, how many cabs do we have in Charleston, West Virginia? Probably more than we have where I live in Paris, Kentucky. But I throw this one in here because, guess what? We're a global society. When you all get hired, you're going to go to New York City, you're going to go to Hong Kong, you're going to go to London, you're going to go to all these places, and you're going to have a client, you're going to have to know how to get in a cab with them and do it right. So that's why I throw this one on here. When entering a cab with a client, you position yourself so the client is seated curbside. Anybody have a clue whether that's true or not? Yes, in the back.
I'd say it's false because you want to open the door for them, have them sit, so you're curbside.
Okay, did y'all hear that? He's saying logically he is right on target. Unfortunately, he's not correct, but I'm going to say it. Logically, you think, I want to open the door, I'll let them get in, and then I'll be curbside. Meaning, first of all, are you very familiar with cabs at all, seriously? Okay. You never, ever, here's the curb, and I'm the cab. You never go on the traffic side. So that's number one. Don't ever step on traffic side if you're in New York City or Philadelphia or whatever. You never go around. So you're always dealing with curbside. Number two, he's absolutely true logically. You would think, okay, I'll open the door for my client, and he'll get in, and I'll sit here. The reality of it is, I open the door for the client, and I do the hard work of sliding across. I'm 6 foot tall, there's that hump in the middle, I've got to slide myself over and look professional doing it, and he or she gets quick in and quick out. If it's pouring rain, they're last in, they can jump into the Hilton and not get drowned. So while logically I agree with you, the reality reality of it is the client is always curbside, okay? And you're then left paying, you're taking care of the cab fare and that type of thing, okay? Won't have that often, but I just throw that in for fun because you will be traveling internationally, so. Okay, or nationally. When entering an office for an interview, you, A, seat yourself upon entering, B, stand until you're told where to sit. How many think it's A? Okay, how many think it's B? Good, we got a room full of yeses on that. If I forget to tell you to sit down, you stand the entire interview. And I might be testing you, so stand away while you're standing there looking silly. Okay, following a job interview, what's the proper thing to do? A, phone the interviewer the next day to thank them for their time. B, send a handwritten thank you note to the interviewer. C, call several times over the following week to stay in touch. D, do nothing. Being pushy may hurt your chances. Any clue on that one? How many think it's A? Which was phone the interviewer, okay? How many think it's B? Okay. C, call a few times? No. D, do nothing? Okay, seems pushy. Okay. The reason I put all these variances of answers is people view it differently. I will tell you this, the last company that my husband and I had, my husband's an entrepreneur. He starts a company and builds it up a little bit and then sells it. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but the last one we had 350 employees. So we had quite a large number, and I did a lot of interviewing for that company. People handled it very differently. Some people would call. You all raised your hands and said, no, don't call, it seems pushy. So be careful on that. The true answer that I'm looking for in this regard is B, send a handwritten thank you note. The reason for that is, how many in here send handwritten thank you notes? Keyword, handwritten. 3 people, 4, okay. Okay, if you don't take anything out of today, except for the fact that you came, good job. Number 2 is get in the habit of writing a handwritten thank you note. Here's why. You will stand out if you do. Most people don't. Handwritten thank you notes have fallen by the wayside because, oh, I'll send an email thank you. It's a completely different thing. If I interview you on Tuesday, you go home that afternoon, you drop a handwritten thank you note in the mail. I have it by Thursday if the Postal Service works like they're supposed to. You stand out. I will literally put your resume to the side because you took the time to write a handwritten thank you note. Doesn't mean I'm going to give you the job. It means I'll take another look at you. And I'm really serious about that. Most people don't do it. So if you do, you're going to stand out. It's easy. I can literally do it sitting at a stoplight. It's not the safest. Don't practice this at home. But it's 3 sentences. They're small, folded over, white or ivory, no lime green, polka dot, school mascot, whatever. White or ivory. Thank me for my time. Bring up something relevant that we talked about. I'm so excited that you're expanding to Huntington. That's my hometown, whatever. And a follow through. I would love to visit with you next week if you have time in your schedule. Thank you, Terri Thompson. Please hire me, basically. So get in the habit. Then pop it in the mail that evening. Not that hard to do. Yes, ma'am. How does it apply to grad school interviews? Grad school interviews are a little bit different because, number one, they're usually a panel as opposed to a one-on-one. And a lot of interviews are a panel. When you go on a first interview, you might meet with Joe Smo. Then second interview, we're into the panel. Third interview, I'm going to take you to lunch or dinner and see if you know how to negotiate through a business meal. And then fourth interview, you either get hired or you're sick of me by then. So to answer her question, how does it apply to grad school? If you're in a panel interview, and grad school is no different than applying for a job. You're vying for a seat in that program, and there's only so many. So it's competitive. It's no different than getting a job, with the exception they usually don't pay you. So if it's a panel interview, you can do one of 2 things. If it's a small panel, 4 people, let's say, I would pop one to each one. I really would. It doesn't take that long. 3 minutes times 4, 12 minutes of your life. If it's a big panel, figure out the moderator, figure out who lined it up, who asked you to come to that panel interview, and you can pop them one. So that's kind of a judgment call. It never hurts to send one. Yes?
What if you have bad penmanship?
Bad penmanship. Then I would look at the legal or the doctor field. know, do the best you can. I would rather get a handwritten thank you note that I absolutely can't read than not get one at all. I know you have good enough to have reached it to the college level. You'll be fine. Yeah, you do. It'll be fine. Yeah, and that's, you know, do the best you can. Take your time. But yes, I'd rather get one I can't read than not at all. Yes, sir.
What type of note do you use?
What type of note cards? Oh, I didn't bring my portfolio in. A true thank you note is a 4th size paper. And this isn't going to be exactly true because I'm making it work. I literally keep one stamped in my portfolio. I can write it at a stoplight. I wasn't kidding about that. Okay, so it's this size, except it folds at the top. It folds not this way, but it folds like this. It's only written on, let's pretend this is the right. You know we were going to have art class, did you? Okay, here's my handwritten thank you note, and it folds like this, okay? So it's only written down here. Nothing up here, nothing on the front. So it's white or ivory. You've got your 3 sentences. You're going to sign your name, and then it goes into an envelope, white or ivory. Okay? So hopefully that answered your question. All right, any other thank you note issues? I'm dead serious, get in the habit. My gravestone's going to say, please write a handwritten thank you note so Terry can rest in peace. Okay. I've lost where we are. 10. At an office party or an event involving food or beverage, which hand should you hold your drink or plate? This is back to networking. Yes, in the back row, lefties. Because why? Shaking hands with your right, yes. And let me say this, and I promise not to get into a complete networking lab today, but networking is never about the food, number one. You're not there to eat and drink as much as humanly possible within, the time allotted. But get in the habit of a drink or plate, not both. Why is that?
Double-fisted.
Yes, double-fisted, because how can I possibly shake your hand? Here comes, president of the company, and I really want to chat up her this evening, but unfortunately I can't shake her hand because I've got my drink over here and my plate over here and blah, blah, blah. So it's okay to do both. You can get a drink and you can get a plate, but you can't get both at one time. So stake out your claim and set up your little area where you're going to eat or drink. Okay? All right. What's the proper time frame to send a thank you note? I believe I've already told you that. Repeat. 24 hours. Unless you're a bride, then I'll give you 2 weeks. No, I'm kidding. All right. When you receive an invitation to a party with an RSVP, when should you RSVP? Anytime before the party? Anytime before the RSVP date? As soon as you know if you can attend, it doesn't matter, RSVPing is outdated. Anybody know what RSVPing is? You ever heard that term? It means respond. It's French for respond if you please. So, while D is correct, it is very outdated. People don't do it anymore. We should do it. So get in the habit. If you get invited to a party, what's the correct answer? We know it's not D. C. As soon as you know if you can attend. Now, here's the deal. I'm having a party. Okay, Terry throws a pretty good party. I don't know if I really want to go or not. Maybe I'll get a better offer. Go ahead and respond that you're coming to my party. Then if you get that better offer, just drop me an email, just send me a call, whatever, and say, you know what, something's come up, I can't make it. Why is that important? Who cares, right? Because it's expensive to have a party. The food cost, the room rent, if you're expecting 330 show up, could have gotten a smaller room. So there's all those reasons. So get in the habit of RSVPing as soon as you know if you can attend, certainly before the cutoff date. When shaking hands, a man should wait until a woman extends her hand before he extends his. Show of hands on this. How many think that's true? How many think it's false? Okay, good. Just checking if you're still with me. Yes, in business, gender, unfortunately, I say, has become neutral. It's gone away. And I say unfortunately because I'm kind of old-fashioned. I still like the fact that gentlemen, if you want to offer to open the door for me, fabulous. I think that's a nice thing to do. The 3 Cornerstone principles of etiquette are kindness, consideration, and honesty. If you don't remember anything else and you do remember those, they will take you further than anything else we talk about in this room. So be kind, be considerate, and be honest. So if someone elderly walks in, out of respect, we might act like we're going to rise out of our seat until grandma gets seated. We don't really have to do that. It's just a nice thing to do. So yes, you don't have to wait for a woman to extend her hand. You don't have to open the door. You don't have to rise, all those things. But I think it's a nice thing to do. Okay? Two-handed shake. Clasping the outside signals warmth, presumptuousness, insincerity, or intimacy. Okay, so I walk up to you and I'm like, oh, Ashley, what am I signaling by doing that? How many think it's warmth? Okay, how many think it's presumptuous? How many think it is insincere? Okay, and intimate. Okay, so 5 people are still thinking in the room. That's good. No, I'm kidding. That's a trick question, and the answer is all the above. The reason I put that in there is be very careful in business. This is not friends. I'm a very outgoing person. I don't know a stranger. I just soon hug you as shake your hand, and that has gotten me in trouble before. My husband, just the opposite. He's quite standoffish. He could care less if you talk to him. He's very introverted. I'm very extroverted. So while I go up and grab Ashley's hand, it's like, oh my God, Ashley, how have you been? So good to see you. She may be like, get off, This happened, true story, in New York City. I was out in one of the boroughs, I won't mention, and I was new to that school that time. And when I met the lady that hired me, I shook her hand and I put my hand on her, I just went like this. I'm so glad to be here. And she said, please remove your hand. I'm like, absolutely, my bad. She's never going to have me back again. And she did. So, but, New York City, a little different culture than ours. I have a daughter that lives in New York City. She's city mouse, I'm country mouse. So there's just cultural differences. There's differences the way we feel about it. So just be mindful and careful. That's the only reason I put that one on there. Yes, sir?
Can it be in a sign of control as well?
A sign of what?
Control.
Control could be, yeah. Yeah. Very much so. And maybe we do that not even realizing it. It's my program, I'm in control, thanks for hiring me. And she's like, get off. It's my students, it's my program, I've got the control. So yeah, absolutely, good point. Okay, if you offer to shake hands and the person doesn't offer their hand, what do? Awkward. That will happen once in a while. What happens? What do? Anybody? There you go. Or, okay. If that happens, you move on. It is awkward. It's like, wow, the handshake in America, and I say in America, we mentioned earlier, you'll be traveling internationally possibly. Learn those customs and cultures of every country because they're different than ours. In America, we reach out, shake hands, that's the calling card we leave behind. Some countries and cultures don't do it that way. So make sure you're familiar with how the Czech Republic does it or how China does it or whatever, because when you're on their turf, you do it like they do it. When they're here, we do it like we do it. So we do shake hands. Some won't shake your hand because they're germaphobes. Some, I have tendonitis in my wrist. I can't. It hurts me. There might be some reasons. So if you run into that, you just move on. You make it as graceful as possible and say, so, do you think the weather today will clear or is it going to snow all day? You just rattle on about something. But yeah, just move on as quickly as you can, and it is awkward. Don't ask them what their problem is. Okay, who goes through a revolving door first? The visitor or the host? How many think it's visitor? How many think it's host? Interesting, split group. It is the host, and here's why. And this seems kind of weird to me. Again, back to the logic of the cab. If I'm the host, it would seem like a little forward if I'm like, well, let me get this door. But in fact, that's exactly what you do. You say, let me do the hard work of getting this door started for us. And then once you get in the lobby, you're directing, oh, we're going to third floor up to the gallery or whatever. So the host goes first, leaving the visitor to trail behind, doing no work. Okay? Is it appropriate to pass out a business card during a meal? Yes, in the back.
I said no. I said we should do it after the meal. Like enjoy the meal, keep the conversation, and pay attention. Listen to the person, and show him like your kind of devotion. Like you really interesting what he says, and at the end of the meal, like when you shake his hand, just give it.
Okay, did y'all hear that? At the end of the meal is what he's saying, and he's correct. The beginning of the meal or the end of the meal is the appropriate time. However, remember the name tag thing when I said if your company says wear it on the left, then we're going to wear it on the left? If president of the University of Charleston takes me to lunch and doesn't know that he's not, or she, I don't know whether it's a he or she, isn't supposed to ask for a business card during a meal, and they want to hire me, guess what? I'm going to book one out during the meal. So it's not really supposed to be during the food portion. It's before or it's after, like he said. And let me say this, in America, we present business cards just like this, with the information facing the person, not sideways, upside down, backwards, whatever, just like this, okay? And as you graduate, how many in here have a business card right now? Good, good. Every student in here should have a card. I don't know if your career service department helps you with that. I know there's Vista Prints, you can get 500 free. I know there's Kinko's down the street, you can get them for $10. It's worth the 10 to free investment that you have because you never know. And you're thinking, I'm a college student, why do I need a business card? Because you hear those weird stories about I'm in line at the Kroger and you're in line at the Kroger, and we start chatting, and I am blown away with your talent, your intelligence, and your beauty, and I want to hire you this summer for my company. So you give me your card, it's got your email, it's got your phone number, it's got declared major if you have it, student, University of Cincinnati, boom, I know how to get a hold of you. So get a business card, they're cheap and they're easy to get right away. After you do that, get a good quality business card holder. Throw away the free one that comes with Vistaprint or Kinko's. They scream college student, I have no money. This was like $20. It's leather, I like it, it fits in my pocket when I'm networking, and I'm good to go. So, any questions on business cards? Get one, okay? All right, where are we in this? The mark of a good conversationalist is the ability to blank, not the ability to talk. Listen, listen. And you'd be surprised how many times you can tell when somebody is truly engaged in a conversation and when their eyes are glazed over and they have no idea what you're talking about, although they're shaking their head and nodding. So really engage with somebody if you're at a networking event or a mix and mingle or whatever, because even if you're faking it and pretending, I can tell you're not interested and you're not listening. So learn to listen, ask good questions back and forth, and that's a good conversation. Okay, when networking and conversing, which of these does not apply? Move around and mingle with many people, show an interest in every person you visit with, ask for advice from professionals that can help you, medical, legal, etc. Make others feel comfortable, valued, and included, speak slowly, clearly, make sure everyone can hear you. Which one's not correct? Yes?
I'd say B.
You'd say B? Show an interest in every person you visit with. Okay, anybody else? Yes?
Say A, maybe.
A, move around and mingle. Okay, this is interesting. Anybody else? What we're not doing when we're networking. C, right, C. You are moving around and mingling. And again, I keep promising not to get too much into networking, but there's 4 things on how to network. And number 2 is have a purpose why you're networking. In other words, I'm going to meet 3 people tonight. Well, you have to move and mingle if you're going to meet 3 people. So you do move. You show an interest in those you're chatting with. You don't ask for, oh, would you look at this bunion on my foot when you go up to the doctor? No. They're not interested in the bunion on your foot at the networking event. So it is number C. Okay, open-ended questions are the best conversation starters. What What's an open-ended question? Can't respond with a yes or a no. Tell me something about yourself that I can't answer with yes or no. If I say, boy, it's cold out tonight or today, yep, and that conversation just died. Versus, where are you from, Josh, and why did you come to the University of Charleston? He has to chat with me. So, open-ended conversation starters are, in fact, the best conversation starters. Open-ended questions, excuse me. True or false, 55% of what we communicate is conveyed through our body language. Forget the number, but it's a high number, it's over half, so do you think that's true? I just gave the answer away, yes it is. Your body language, we're all human, whether we like it or not, we are judging people immediately. When I walked up here, you all judged me like, God, what is she wearing? Why does her hair look like that? Is she going to take that scarf off? You know, whatever it was, you were judging me because my body language, my posture, my eye contact, the way I smile, those are what makes up our persona of how we come across to others. So be very, very careful, especially in the interview process. Your body language is already talking to me before you've opened your mouth. If you went out last night and it was a little rough and you forgot to shave, that's your body language. If you didn't get your shoes clean, you were kind of out in the mud last night and I meant to, but I didn't get it done, part of your body language. So be very, very specific, especially in that interview process. Okay, when visiting in a group, make eye contact with the person you're speaking with at the time. Everyone in the group, no one in particular. You can look past everyone. Okay, person you're speaking with at the time. How about anybody else? You like A? It's actually B. If I'm chatting with, Haley. If Haley and I are having a conversation, but Ashley and Cheyenne, my youngest daughter's name's Cheyenne. Awesome. Okay, you don't see that very often. So Haley and Cheyenne and Ashley and I are chatting, but really we get into this heated discussion and we're back and forth, but I'm drawing them in, giving them some eye contact as well. Otherwise, it's like, well, hello, I'm part of this conversation, and yet I'm not. So even though Haley and I are chatting, throw in Cheyenne and Ashley. Okay, is it appropriate to tell a business associate or a peer that their zipper is open? They have something in their teeth, lipstick smudge, toilet paper trailing down the hall, zippers open, all kinds of things called human. Is that appropriate? How many would tell somebody that's going on? I want to see show of hands, either your yes or your no. Who's going to say? Okay, so I'm guessing 80% of you, at least in this room, are saying yes. How many are saying definitely not? A few of you chickens. Okay. Here's the deal on that. We're all human. I think you've heard me say that more than once today. And those things happen. Now, I speak for a living. I could write a book on embarrassing situations. Nothing really embarrasses me anymore. But I try to be mindful of how I present myself. I was at a very conservative, not a lot of fun going on, law school last spring. And the lady that hired me before I got ready to go on said, I know you would want to know this. Those were her words. I know you would want to know this. You have lipstick on your teeth. That was a very gracious, kind way of saying, don't get up there and look like an idiot in front of my students. You do. So I thought that was a great thing to remember. I know you'd want to know this. You have a little something in your teeth. When that happens, it's like that's all we can think about. If you're sitting at lunch with somebody and they have something in their teeth, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't look at them because that big strawberry seed is hanging out or whatever. So it's a nice thing not to embarrass anybody. That's number one. Number two, you don't have to announce it to the whole table. Let them know quietly, I know you'd want to know this, Josh, you've got something in your teeth. Then you're taking that outside, dealing with it, you know, your zipper's open or it's broken or you've spilled something down your front. Just let them know that quietly. The only thing that I would agree with those of you that were chicken and didn't want to do it is maybe if you're on an interview and it's the interviewer. The flip side of the coin is if it is and we're done with the meal and then let's say I'm the interviewer and I'm taking that row of girls out to lunch and I'm only going to hire one of them. And so I get done with that interview and I go in the restroom and, you know, my blouse is hanging open. I'm like, well, thanks a lot for that. I sat there the whole time. So that's the flip side, is like, you didn't tell me and now, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. So it's better to tell someone that if you can, in a kind way, okay? All right, any questions about any of this or anything else? Any issues you've run into? I wish I'd have known this or that. What can you think of? Yes, in the back.
How hard she shakes someone's hand.
How hard, okay?
So,
A good firm handshake. Now, what's firm to you is different probably than to me. Two schools of thought. You do not want bone crushing. So guys, if you're linebacker on the football team, maybe you're going to back off a little bit. Women, if you lift weights for your hobby and you can bench press 400, maybe you're going to back off a little bit. The flip side is nothing worse than a fishy handshake. So this whole, oh, you know, I'm dainty and so nice to meet you. No. Good, firm handshake. Practice it if you don't know. Practice it with your significant others. Yes?
I think a lot of guys have that problem shaking a female's hand.
Yes, that's where it is. It's a gender issue. I would rather, and I have developed, because I'm old, I've developed tendonitis in this wrist. I can't get rid of it. It hurts all the time. Shaking hands has become a bit of an issue. I would still rather have a firm handshake and think, ouch, than not. So a good firm handshake is really all I can tell you. Not fishy and not bone crushing. Anything else at all? Nope, got it? How confident are you all as a group that most of what we went over today, I got this? Good, you do. Practice it, get comfortable with it. Interviews are nerve-wracking, obviously. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get. Networking's nerve-wracking when you're not used to it, but the better you came to things like this. Go to everything you can on campus. And I will close by saying, if you're not using your career service department, you're doing yourself an injustice, because they're there to help you. They are there to walk you through these processes, and if you're not using them, it's on. Thank you all again for having me. Thanks for coming. I'll be here for a few minutes if you've got something, and thanks again. I'll turn it back to Hannah.
Everyone should have surveys, so please make sure you fill those out before you leave. Also, if you're interested in thank you notes, I keep a stock of thank you notes in my office, so feel free to come by and get some of those. If you're in an internship situation, you're getting ready to have an interview, feel free to come by and get those thank you notes.
Thank you all.